Um, so welcome everybody to the final pitches for our blockchain and the World Food Supply Hackathon. And the teams have been working for about 2.5 days. They started Friday evening and they finished up half an hour ago to create blockchain solutions or blockchain related solutions to food supply problems. We've been really impressed with the work effort that everybody has put in, especially given that they're spread all over the world and some are in vastly different time zones. So they're very impressive teams and we are thrilled with the work that they have put in today, or in the last 2.5 days. I'm going to go through what the teams are here for. So here's the list of prizes that they are going after today. For our winning team, we have tickets to the Web Summit, 1 dedicated desk at Dublin BIC, 3 mentoring sessions with the SproutX Startup Accelerator, and 1 pitch mentoring session with the founding member of Australia Pacific Provenance Council and the Fresh Supply Company. A 3-month license with settlement, which has a normal value of 30,000 euros, giving the winning team the opportunity to extend beyond the hackathon and test their product market fit. 1 hour mentorship with Killian. The opportunity to submit their World Food Supply blockchain use case to the ISO TC 307 blockchain and DLT use case repository with Origin Chain. This was what Fiona had spoke about yesterday afternoon, and mentorship with Fiona, who we've met, the CEO at Origin Chain Networks. Those are our big, fabulous list of prizes. Also important for the participants to know, who are the judges? Who are these people who are going to be deciding your fate this evening? So we have Fiona Delaney. Our participants she's a familiar face. She's been with us, there we go, all weekend, popping in and leaving us fun pictures in the general chat as well. Juarez Barbosa Jr., who from Microsoft. Where are you, Juarez, if you want to wave? He's one of the also who's been here with us all weekend. Pierce Ryan, there we go, with his lovely stripes background. Who's with Arthur Cox. We have Vince Coley.
Hi there.
Who is, there we go, 500 Startups out in Silicon Valley. He's coming to us from the morning in California. Kieran, I'm going to butcher your last name. I'm really sorry. If you will say it for me.
I'll put you out of your misery then.
Thank you. There we go. Let's take it. I've heard you say it like twice now, and I still can't. So thank you for saying it for me. He's from Science Foundation Ireland. And last but not least, Matthew Van Nykirk from Settlement, who we've also, there he is, been seeing around throughout the weekend. So here we go. Our first team up. I think that's all my things I wanted to get through. Yep, cool. All right, our first team up is team number 2. So, oh wait, structure, sorry, rules. You've all heard them before, but I'm gonna say them again so that nobody can say that they didn't know. The teams have 5 minutes to present. Within that 5 minutes, if they want to present a demo or anything, it all counts within that 5 minutes. They can show slides, they can talk, all of that, 5 minutes. The judges will then have 5 minutes to ask questions. And at the end of either of those 5 minutes, I will shout at you to stop. And if the presenters are still talking a few minutes after that, then I will mute them. Because in real life, I would turn off your mic, but here I will just put you on mute. So here we go. All the important things are done. Let's get to the fun stuff. So team number 2, David is presenting. You will share your screen up. Cool. I'm just gonna present there. Awesome. All right, team number 2, you have 5 minutes on the clock. Ready, set, go.
Hello all, my name is David. I'm part of team 2, and as a team, the solution we bring to you today is TipTim. Behind the barcode, small-scale farmers who produce more than 70% of the world's food are unable to earn enough income to escape hunger and poverty. We believe this is a problem, and we believe we have the tools and resources to make a real difference. Poverty is a huge issue, particularly for those at one end of the supply chain, those who are producing the food. Inequality across the supply chain from the first world to the third world, and indeed within countries, is a huge issue and one that is growing over time. We see the opportunity for technology to make a difference, but are conscious that without business and human impact, technology is agnostic of good or bad. So we've been looking for a way to try and apply it to this problem. Poverty and inequality are ingredients in the supermarket supply chains. We took a holistic view by looking end to end between the retailer and the customer and the farmer on one end. We've looked at all the intermediaries to try and understand this system, and I've seen that there is a large inequality of the distribution. We have some numbers here, but to keep it at a high level, the amount going to the farmers on one end is 6% or less of the end price that a customer would see in a supermarket. When looking at blockchain as a way to approach this, we identified two distinct areas in which we thought blockchain might be able to help with the problems we were seeing and with the supply chain. We saw that there were informational improvements, such as transparency, provenance, and tracking. And we saw that there were payments improvements, ultimately trying to address this inequality of distribution of wealth between one end of the supply chain and the other. We ultimately chose the latter, and we're here to present to you how we have come up with a payment solution that we think can make a difference. To make this real, there are a number of stakeholders. There is the end customer, there's the retailer, lots of intermediaries moving food from one end of the world to the other. There's the end farmer, and there's the technology layer and the companies facilitating the supply chain. We specifically focused here to keep it user-centric on two users at the end of the supply chain. We'll go into how all the other organizations and stakeholders are affected, but firstly, I'd like to introduce you to two characters. We have caring mum Claire and eco-warrior Ed. Claire is 37, an accountant, married with one daughter and living in Dublin. She likes to save on the little things, shop affordably for the family, give a little extra where she can. But of course, she has challenges. Her husband was made redundant due to COVID. She's no longer able to spend that little bit more at the artisan farmers market for groceries. And she wants to give back to the farming community, but doesn't know how. This is one of the common themes we've seen around the idea of complexity and one end of the supply chain being very difficult to understand from the other. Eco-warrior Ed is a digital native, socially conscious consumer, but also has that guilt in trying to understand how he can better impact the world. He'd like to give back to communities, but is on a very tight budget as he's studying veterinary and doesn't have time to take on a part-time job. The opportunity we see is to improve smallholder farmers' incomes by leveraging rising expectation from customers on provenance and sustainability, and working on the increased pressure from the investment community around transparency and meaningful corporate social responsibility. By this, we mean we think we can increase the income for farmers, reduce the complexity of the supply chain, and achieve a very altruistic aim. So what are we looking at? We're looking at enabling direct payments to farmers, leveraging blockchain to achieve disintermediation by cutting out the middlemen in this payment, and empowering customers to make a real difference to the lives of others. In this graph, you'll see here that in the stakeholders, we have the farmer, the intermediaries, and the customer. Produce flows one way, payments the other, and ultimately, as supply chains become more digitized, data flows both ways, and this gives us an opportunity. We see that leveraging blockchain as a layer above existing supply chain information, where it exists and is digitized, we can layer on the ability for customers to directly impact farmers by donating a percentage or a number of currency directly to the farmer based on the quality or their happiness with the product, or indeed just an altruistic aim. Our product, TipTim, is a customer-facing application which scans QR codes to link directly back from one end of the supply chain to the other, and enables users to donate straight to the end farmer. It leverages blockchain, including features such as the fact that it would sit on the public chain due to capacity. It would enable smart contracts such that one end is confirmed at the other, and that it would use Libra as a form of currency based on its comparison to real world to maintain value. In terms of the revenue model, we anticipate that there would be cost to begin with, which we've looked at some of the EY kind of cost breakdowns here. We anticipate that in the long run, it will be made sustainable by a balance between direct payments being a large portion of the transfer from customers to farmers, as well as a small amount going into infrastructure
David,
costs
start to wrap
and
it
the
up.
business itself. We think that working with various organizations and the technology, as well as kind of NGOs working in this space, would help us to scale. And we have a plan of how we would do this across 4 stages. To give you the quick summary here, we are David, Alucci, Kevin, and Mary Liz. Go. Perfect.
Nice. All right. Good work. A few seconds over. Judges, the floor is yours. You have 5 minutes to ask questions of team 2. David, and I believe Kevin is also here to ask questions or to answer questions.
So David, I think your opening presentation was really clear and awesome. Question: what are top 3 complexities you are trying to target during this hackathon, and how are you able to tackle them during 48 hours?
Sure. So in approaching the hackathon, I think a big thing for us was understanding blockchain. So, you know, from us coming into this, we all came from different backgrounds. And so a challenge that I see in hackathons is an organic team coming together without a hierarchy. It kind of follows the forming, storming, norming, performing. And luckily we've got to the end in that 48 hours. In terms of the blockchain specifically and the application we're looking at, some of the challenges that we've encountered, and the mentors have been great in giving us this feedback, is that to build a blockchain application along a supply chain end to end, even from a small supply chain to a very complex one, the lack of digitization from end to end would make it difficult. And so in this, we anticipate beginning with systems where they are fully digitized or working with niche markets and small producers to track that. So one of the examples we saw was Moe Coffee, who've been able to track from one end to the other. And so where these supply chains are clear and transparent, building around that. A second challenge that we found here is that in terms of the end farmer, where they would work for a co-op or where their identity wouldn't be clearly articulated through, you know, some kind of protected system like a bank account or a government, we would have to work with NGOs to roll out to the most disadvantaged countries to ensure that the payment was going to the right person and not some intermediary body.
Thank you.
David, hi, it's Pierce. Hi, thank you for that. That was very interesting. I'm a lawyer, so my questions will always be rather negative. Apologies. I have to forewarn you. I mean, it seemed to me you've got the social impact bit, you know, you've got a couple of the boxes ticked, but what about the business model? I mean, this looks like a donation app sitting on top of a commercial environment. So I buy my overpriced coffee from Venezuela or Timbuktu, and I'm expected to give a donation on top. Have you worked out the business model? Or have you been able to work out the business model?
Yeah, well, so again, we've looked at some of this, but you know, within 48 hours, I guess there are more discussions and where we've got to. Two of the things we're trying to look at is maybe the difference between a commoditized market. So my concept here is just rice in Tesco. So a price, you know, where we understand that like it's very competitive and the price is relatively low, versus to say a luxury product. So artisan cheese from Kildare. We probably see that there are 2 use cases on one end. One is a more altruistic aim, such that, you know, it's not having to change the whole supply chain, but circumventing it to actually give real rewards to farmers. And as people become conscientious building on that, ultimately we think that that pressure could build into the intermediaries, such that brands like say Kellogg's or supermarkets like SuperValu might actually take us up on this, maybe match the donations or guarantee that they're keeping, you know, a decent price on one end. And this is additional. For the more artisan produce, we thought of more of a, say, an Ireland use case where you might actually be, say, tipping someone based on really good produce and quality. So I really enjoyed the cheese, here's a tip. So it's sort of a Patreon model, but for produce.
Can I ask you? Whoops.
Go ahead, Fiona, you go next, I'll wait for you.
Thanks a million, Kieran. David, will you just give me a little overview of how you think decentralization might play a role in this? I kind of like the idea of tipping directly to your you know, produce growers in emerging economies. I'm just wondering, how are you going to identify them? How are you going to keep them safe in that supply chain? When I think of other NGOs like aid organizations that have implemented something like this, maybe more through like food credit, that kind of thing as a reward, or mobile credit as a reward, that functions really well in some economies. And I'm just wondering, you're leveraging pretty big systems there, and Libra's not even with us yet. And that will work very well, I think, in the Western world, but is it really as relevant maybe in, if you're concentrating on African nations? So, okay, that's a big overview. Give me a comment about decentralization.
No, I'm happy to dive into that. So if we took, I guess, 3 quick examples, let's say a first world, a second world, and a third world country, we do think that the rollout would have to be specific and tailored, where there are fully digital supply chains in places like Ireland. And if you go to SuperValue and it says Tom's cheese, it's very clear there how it would get back to Tom. And we can assume that they'd have the infrastructure to have a bank account and a protected identity. As you go to second world, again, assuming here, and something we need to validate, the kind of systems you're talking about that do work, such as, you know, tokens, bank linking to bank accounts, or microcredit linking to phone credit, and where we can actually identify at the individual level versus, say, a co-op or a producer just saying I have 50 employees. We think this is something that, you know, could integrate, but again, would be tailored per country and rollout. I think where it comes to more poor and third world countries, this is a challenge. You know, it is linked with other trends at the moment, which is the ability to digitize, or at least have some information the whole way back to complex supply chains in the third world, and also accessing identity management. So how can we guarantee that this person is that? One of the challenges we would identify here is that if, let's say, you had a co-op or just 50 laborers working on a farm, if we can't get to that end level, we'd have to have that discussion and see, is it worth, say, 50, you know, customers giving those tips to that producer, or indeed that actually, you know, we're just going to not roll out until the access kind of infrastructure is there that we can guarantee this goes to the right person.
Do you see it going to the people or to the brand?
People. So again, I threw up the graph very quickly, but the idea here would be to try and skip the intermediaries, so that where we can guarantee on one end that you have a customer who can track back all the way to a specific producer or farmer, that it would go directly to them.
I'm gonna cut you guys off there. That's a 5 minutes and a little bit. Sorry, Karen. But plowing ahead, otherwise we'll be here until midnight. So team 4, you're up next. Garanya, where are you there? You will put your screen up. We can see your presentation.
Hello.
There
Hello, everybody. I'm just sharing now.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great way to spend.
So thanks. Can you see?
No, not yet. Oh, there you are. Up now. We're good now. All right, 1 second. Let me start to get my timer set up here. Okay, team 4, you have 5 minutes on the clock. Ready, set, go.
Hello, everybody. Look, you've heard the philanthropist side of things, but you know, we're here to do both. We're here to make a little bit of money and also solve world hunger, especially when it comes to using existing food that is already existing in supply chains and distributing that to where it counts. So the piece that was spoken about in the other team, that we've actually got a way of solving that. So what we're going to actually present to you today is the stock market. Like, we're going to start from scratch and develop a stock market. Sorry, we're not going to start from scratch. We're going to give you a way to have absolutely no more food waste, and we're going to connect to existing ecosystems to develop that. So the problem is, hunger is actually not really a massive problem in the developed world. It's really rather an issue of issues with distribution. So in the United States, 40% of food is never eaten, which is $165 billion per year. And in Ireland, we have 1 million tons of waste every single year. What we want to do is we want to solve that problem. We want to do it in a really big way. So we want to introduce a stock market type system that will just connect food waste, food sources of food waste to and distribute that in the right way to the right place in the right time to places that require that food. We are going to do right-size distribution, and we're going to connect and allow and enable both large and smaller players to connect to our system. So what we estimate is that there is already a demand for this product. There is already set goals. So especially in the US, in 2015, the United States Department of Agriculture stated that they wanted to cut food waste by 50%. So therefore, we already know that that's potentially a very strong market. There is already an existing ecosystem for that, and identified hierarchy of where the value can be. So what we want to do here is to redistribute that. We envisage a partner ecosystem with organizations that already exist, but we really want to help to connect players within the US Environmental Protection Agency Food Recovery Challenge. So there's already a system there, and so what we're going to do is introduce the system to connect all of the players within that, regardless of their particular location. We see that our route to market is just to start with a very small example of this. So for example, within, take one commodity, one producer, etc., but build it in an agnostic way that will allow everybody to connect, and then move to larger customers with larger distribution. So here's how we're going to do it. The blockchain part, so there are a lot of different existing systems for marketplaces. We're going, and an awful lot of them can just be, what we're going to do in terms of the blockchain is we will use a blockchain for the validation of entities, ensuring that they're reputable organizations. We are going to use it for exchange of money flow, and we are going to use it for verified credentials. We are not going to put anything, we're not going to use it for the actual delivery or distribution. We're just going to use it for credentials to make sure that the organizations that connect are verified credentials. We estimate that we can make money on this idea by the producer has an overstock potentially, and that food is going into waste unless they can sell it. So therefore, there is a premium chargeable to the producer. So therefore, the producer pays the fee to access the stock market. The distributor is paid per haul, and the buyer pays for the food and the delivery and the distribution. Because this, here's the tech architecture. So tech architecture on the left, using existing databases, such as the EPA's databases. We'll put a graph query language here, and I'm going to hand over to my teammate Ed if there's any questions on the here, and we've also got some mock-ups here. We've also we've looked at some code to handle this, and we have also looked at the GS1 digital link as a way to verify some credentials on delivery. The team is Ed Mooney and myself. Thank you very much.
Perfect. Great. If any of the judges have questions for team number 4, go for it.
Team number 4, I believe you presented the problem statement in the most clear fashion. Congratulations. So imagine with me that you are very successful in next 4 to 5 years. So with the help of your solution, what percentage of food waste you can save? Currently it is 1 million tons in Ireland. So what percentage of food waste can you save in next 4 to 5 years deploying your solution, and why?
There's a number of different reasons that food is spoiled. Some of it is not finding access to markets. So we've seen a huge amount of disruption due to COVID in recent months, where there is existing food contracts for supply and demand have been completely disrupted. So with any kind of disruption, that creates waste. But there are other reasons as well. We envisage that we will be tackling the topmost reason, overproduction amidst disruption. So we envisage that we would have 25% in the first year in this space, and building on that, but we also absolutely need to address some of the other issues, such as spoilage due to expiry dates, insect infestation, and
Sorry to
other
interrupt.
things.
My question was what percentage, so 1 million ton is a number, right?
Mhm.
So what percentage can you say? It's a very simple question, 10% or 1 million ton waste, 20%?
25%, because we see that the largest problem is being dealt with this solution.
Thank you.
25% in the first year.
And I have a question about more of an implementation-oriented question. So good presentation, but who exactly are you onboarding to your platform, and how are you onboarding them? And basically, the how are you onboarding is I'd like to hear about how you're incentivizing companies to jump into the stock market.
What we have seen is that, especially in the States, and Ed, please support me on this, state and national governments, this is the EPA Food Recovery Challenge in the US is a national initiative, but each state needs to comply with that in the States. And they don't necessarily have access to a system like this. So we will propose to onboard each state government and also utilize the network of the Food Challenge, because there are an awful lot of organizations and companies already registered in there. So twofold, using the Recovery Challenge and onboard in that manner, and also state governments and through their networks. Ed, if you have any comments.
Yeah, and just to add, what happened, especially due to COVID-19, is I think a lot of folks realize the infrastructure that's currently in place for the supply chain was totally disrupted. There were a lot of farmers that couldn't distribute their goods. So what a lot of states governments had to do was scramble to kind of set up some sort of way to get the growers and the actual growers and the consumers together. And so what they've been done is this ad hoc system, and the government hasn't been really great at this. Different states are spinning up different ways to kind of make this happen, but kind of partnering to get this infrastructure in place to make the distribution methods more resilient. And that's been a struggle, and they're still trying to get that up and running. So this would kind of be able to come in and say, hey, we have a solution for this, we can co-opt this and give this a little bit of help to get this going, but it would be consistent across the different states if this was accepted. So, different states wouldn't have to spin up their own solutions and kind of do something they're not, quite frankly, the best at doing.
Can I ask one quick question? And it just goes back to the root of your business case here. Are you tackling food waste or food loss? So there's quite a difference between them in terms of the metrics and measures and the part of the value chain that you're tackling as well, because food loss is kind of, well, I see here is producers on the early stage, and food waste is when it's at the consumer stage. Which are you tackling?
Loss.
Food loss, okay.
Or waste. It's really both. So at least here
Exactly.
in the United States.
How can you do, yeah, so I think in this particular one, it's connecting, it's actually putting a distribution piece in place to allow connectivity. So it's handling potential food waste in that space.
Yeah, and just to clarify, here in the United States, we have an issue where a lot of the food that's grown is, say, in Iowa, which is a not heavily populated location, but there's a lot of hungry people in New York City. So trying to balance that out between the distribution actually from where it's consumed and where it's created is some of the goal of this. So being able to streamline that process is one of the challenges, and clearly it's been, the issue's been come to light because of COVID-19, but this further helps providing that direct level of smoothness or another option for producers to be able to access markets they hadn't had in the past.
I think that makes you tackling food loss, actually.
Nice.
Thank you.
I'm going to cut you guys off there. And thank you, Team 4, for your great presentation. we're on to team 9 now. So if Grania will take your screen down, and Gokul, you will put yours up.
Yeah. Hello? Can you hear me?
Yep, Gokul, we can hear you. Can you share your screen?
Sure, doing it now.
Please.
Can you able to see my screen?
Yep, it's just coming up. 1 second. There you go. Do you want to put it on presenter mode so I don't
Yeah,
you get your speaker notes there?
Yeah, is it okay?
Nope, you're still on edit mode. Do you want to put it on present? There you go. Hit that button.
Yeah. Okay, am I audible?
Yep, we can hear you.
All right, so
Are you
let's
ready?
start.
All right, you have 5 minutes. Ready, go.
All right, thank you everyone for giving me an opportunity to be in the 9-block blockchain hackathon. So before I start, how many people picked your phone in the department store and scanned the product is authentic or not? Please raise your hands, I can see that. How many people are coffee lovers in this group? Coffee lovers, raise up your hands. Awesome, okay. So then this is the product for everybody to want to eradicate a food fraud. Exactly, so this is my team called 9-block. So we have built a solution for the food fraud. It's nearly estimated to 40 to 50 billion in a year on the global food industry. Do you know one of the biggest majority of food industry which is get fraud is nothing but a milk products. Coffee lovers, be cautious. So the case studies we have taken is spinach outbreak and China milk scandal. Hope you all, everybody aware of this scandal. Nearly 56,000 kids has been lost their life. And in spinach outbreak, nearly a lot of millions of US people suffered in the hospital. So I want to solve this problem. So we have built a solution called 9-block. What is this actually? It's a one-stop solution to understand your product is authentic or not, to escape from the food fraud. If you're able to alert a food fraud, you're going to earn through it. That's actually catchy business point we have. So look at it, how we're going to do it. Just pick your phone and say, talk to 9-block and scan the product. It say authentic, put in the cart, enjoy at home. If it says a food alert and make it unauthentic and mark it, announce to the supermarketer, announce to the consumer, and you will get a reward for it. So we have a demo for it. So who is getting benefit out of it? The stores, the food producers. We are really solving a 50 million market problem. And the benefits is actually through value. The new ingredient for all customers is transparency and trust. It's not about like a vegan, not about like a paraben free. And its outcomes is more for customers and more sales. The value creating for the producers and for the customers is also. So let's quickly go to the demo. Okay, this is, can you able to see my screen?
We still see your slides.
Okay. You still see the slide? Oh, no, 1 second.
Okay.
Okay, so the first step is I'm going to pick my phone, talk to 9-block, talk to 9-block.
Got it. Let's get the test version of Talk to 9-block.
Did you hear that?
Welcome to 9-block.
Very quick, very quick. I didn't do any download of app. So here is the interesting point. So 1 second, I need to stop share and then change my screen to here. So now can you able to see my screen with a QR code? Exactly. So what actually happened here is I quickly open my, you can see here still the same thing. If I click on it, the food, it'll open the same screen over in my mobile screen. Can you see that? Exactly. So what I'm going to do is I'm quickly going to scan a milk product and click on authenticating. It's giving a detailed information where this farm has sourced, where it's tested, when, which warehouse, and what is the temperature has been maintained. If you look at the last point, it's completely sanitized and hygienely checked because of the COVID season. Next time you pick a milk pack or milk bottle, make sure it's sanitized and hygienely checked by the department store as well as the farmer. Can you see the green mark? Now it's good to go now. Okay, let's reverse this process now. I'm scanning another product. Now I'm going to check it. Is it authenticate? No, it's not. So now it's saying is a food fraud, hashtag 558 is a quick alert. You do see the alert on earn there? Once you click on it, you're going to get a reward for the food has been marked to the food fraud committee saying that this is not authentic. Now the department store, the producer, everybody get a notification in their dashboard and saying that quickly take action. It means very quickly you have to take action over there. Now this customer is earn a reward, can able to redeem at the store. So this is a very quickless and seamless solution. So when I ask the question, first question, how many people took your phone and checked, scanned the product in the app in the department store? I think majority of people said no, because reason is you don't like to download an app and do all the process, because monthly once you do it. But I'll integrate it with an AI chatbot. All you have to check your random Android phone or Siri and say that, hey, talk to 9block, it's quickly open and do all shopping process. If you found one thing as a red mark and you don't need to talk to any human there. All you have to just mark it, food, alert and earn. This notification goes to the store manager. And while you, at the time of you checking out, you will get your decent amount of redeem point. You can get some goodies there. So this is a way of actually giving business to customers, to the consumers, as well as the producers. So the reason of we solving the problem is not the money. We can able to save our lives. We don't want any another spinach outbreak. I don't want any another China milk scandal. That's a problem we are working on. Thank you so much for your time. I think we are on time, I believe.
Perfect, right on time.
Thank you so much.
All right, judges, if you have any questions, the floor is yours.
I have a question. Hi.
Hi.
Please, yeah. So your app is reading the RFID tag on the product, and that is telling you that this is a fraudulent product. But does that not mean that the manufacturers already knew it was a fraudulent product, if that's what the tag is telling us?
Exactly. So here is actually solving a product in the food fraud. I'm not saying the manufacturer is creating a fraud product. For example, as a milk product, the milk name is called Milk A. Somebody using the same name and creating a product and try to market it in somewhere in the world. But as you have manufacturer, you're not aware. For example, a European product has been marketed in India, the same name, but people are believing in the brand and buying it. That's what happened in the spinach outbreak as well as in the China scandal. But here the better point is, for example, tomorrow something is happening in the manufacturing line. You don't need to cancel all the product. You have to cancel manufacturing line product, and still you can able to save other products. For example, location in US is got contaminated, but location in Canada is not got contaminated. Doesn't mean that globally your product have to get affected. You have to just stop the process only in the US, UK, India, everything can be still running on it. So that's the product actually began of it. The benefit is you don't need to validate, you don't need to actually do advertising or marketing. Your customer have to scan it and able to see the trust and transparency in his mobile phone. That's actually the benefit of the product.
I have a kind of a remark and also a few questions. So I think what you've done, Gokul, I think is interesting. It provides kind of a gamification of the process. So engaging end consumers in giving them an award for identifying or for reporting fraudulent goods, which is an interesting angle. That's quite innovative. The other part, can you maybe walk us through the use of QR codes and how, as a producer or manufacturer, I'm able to provide information to consumers? Again, that's really innovative. Actually, I'm just thinking about that now, because you're engaging the producers themselves in getting involved in report. But maybe just walk us through the QR code part and
awesome.
how that.
Okay, 1 second. So during the QR code process, right? So you take a product A, what's your favorite product? For example, a milk product. And somebody have a QR code over there, right? So we are scanning that QR code through the app, right? It will give a detailed information like each and every process has been. It's nothing but actually a dashboard in the back end is a public URL for that dashboard for who are the customers, who are the middleware dealers, who are the middleware store managers, has been edited in that platform, able to store information. For example, you are a strawberry manufacturer, okay? And keep it, Piers is actually a store manager and myself actually a customer. So now you're actually providing your strawberry to Piers Ryan. So Ryan will get this information, dashboard, you will update that. I received the product, as means I got the shipment over this time. So this information stored in the public URL without giving any detailed, any confidential information, but it'll give the information like what time it's arrived, what temperature you are maintaining in your space, and what mode of transformation is did, and how the sanitation hygiene process at what time it has been done. So all this information will be stored in the public URL. It will be having a very kind of secure, authentic, access to only to Piers Ryan and Matthew. As a public, I can only able to view. I can't able to edit it. Did you getting it right? I can only view, I can't edit it. The editing power is only for Matthew and Ryan, nobody else. But when it's this information is not found, for example, you missed to add in the DB, but I have a right to say that, see, your product is not listed as authentic. I have a doubt. I want to create an alert. Okay, your customer is actually helping you to make sure your product has been everything aligned digitally. Whether to keep it either in the fruit fraud and everything for free of cost, somebody is helping you to digitally get your data. That's awesome, right? And secondly, if it's really fraud, you can go and do a reverse check and find the traceability. Able to, Ryan can update Matthew and saying that, hey, listen, this product is not over in the DB. Can you please check? Then you would do it. No, there is no such number in my manufacturing. Now you'll raise a sue according to who is a person registered address or registered company who try to create a food fraud under your name, right? So this is the problem we are trying to solve. The answer to your question, the QR code is only editable to Matthew and Ryan, not to Gokul that as a customer.
Can I just continue that question?
Please.
So are you going to create this product database as part of your platform, or are you going to use something like GS1 existing GTIN numbers and use that existing database?
Answer is both. When somebody is very new to the market, say they want to actually the reason actually build the product is now it's COVID. Everybody want to hygiene and sanitize product. If a shopkeeper actually in front of doing a sanitize in front of you doesn't mean that the product inside is sanitized and hygiene, right? So I want to implement when a new brand is coming inside. If you have the green QR code, is nothing but a 9-block QR code, is meant to be adding a brand value to you. Imagine Walmart is already have a lot of amounts of products in there. I can't able to try to recreate all this. What is the solution for me now? All I want to just give a database permission to me. How your entire process? I'm going to add the last process of the sanitization and hygiene at what time and where it is. So this kind of information can edit to in my dashboard. So we can able to seamlessly add integration to them. It's become an API to them. You can add seamlessly with the platform.
Yeah, I really like the gamification that Matthew noted earlier on. I love that you're basically bug bountying food. It's more or less. I really like that. I'm pretty sure that you could simplify your process with a little more exposure to what exists at an enterprise level. But I love the energy and I think it's really interesting. Yeah.
I mean, like,
sorry, Team 9. Sorry, Gokul, I'm going to cut you off there.
All right. Thank you so much.
Great work, great presentation.
My question.
Gokul, if you will stop sharing your screen, and Jenny, if you will share yours up. And Susan's down.
Can everyone hear me?
Yep, we can hear you. We just have to wait for Gokul to bring his screen down. So
one second. I'm just doing it. I'm very new to this. Oh my God.
It's down at the bottom of your screen, same place where it said share screen. You can say stop.
1 second, guys. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Come on, Google.
We can solve the big tech problems, and then when you got to share a screen, it just all goes downhill.
Caitlin, as host, are you not able to take the rights away and then put them back again?
Let me see, maybe I can. Oh, no, got it on its own. We're good. All right, Jenny, if you'll share your screen up.
Sure.
There we go, we're all set. All right, that's also why we have to stick to our strict time here. I have time built in for screen sharing. All right, Team 11, you have 5 minutes, ready, set, go.
Just a quick question. Can you just see the presentation or can you see everything?
We can see everything right now.
Everything, okay. Let me just change what I'm sharing. Sorry.
Okay. That's fine though, if you want to just use that, what we could see worked fine. There you go, you're good. Perfect. All right, now you have 5 minutes. Ready, set, go.
Thanks. Hi everyone, I'm Jenny and I'm in Team 11. Today I'm going to be introducing our blockchain solution to canola supply and demand in agriculture, bioplastic production and in food processing. So I'll present a pretty specific use case during this presentation today. At this point in time, we're already aware of the food supply crisis. The Food and Agriculture Organization has projected that global food demand will double by 2050. And more frequently, executives are realizing that blockchain and environmental opportunities have become a major source of revenue growth and not just seen as a CSR practice for environmental things. So I'm going to demonstrate how we can create real economic, environmental, and technological impact through our solution so that we can amplify all that's great about humans using these blockchain technologies. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to introduce the canola seed and the plant to you a little bit before I begin. So canola has some very attractive growth properties. It's grown as a cash crop. It has a short growth cycle of around 3.5 months in optimum conditions. It's not very resource intensive. It can grow in lots of places. Temperate climates, hot climates, cool climates. It's got lots of health benefits, low in saturated fats and high in omega-3 fatty acids. So it's associated with a lot of healthy heart and low cholesterol products. Pardon me. So at the moment, the canola industry is facing strong competition. So the edible oils industry is very saturated, and there's an increasingly diverse product selection and offering. So canola oil is in this position where it's stuck in the middle. It's not the cheapest oil. It's not like palm oil, but it's not the most healthiest oil either. Olive oil is king in that term, in terms of health. And there's also a lot of operational risks such as climate change, which is a major threat, crop failure frequency, unpredictability in weather and yields, pesticide resistance, fertilizers becoming less and less effective, and there's a lot of contaminated water supply problems as well due to runoff. In terms of economic risk, we have industry consolidation. So the demand for lower prices is only increasing, and smaller producers are really struggling to achieve the same economies of scale as larger producers. So they find that they have insufficient capital to invest in farming technologies, which we've heard of this problem in previous speeches, but a lot of their working capital is also tied up in the crop, so they can't further invest it. And for this reason, they're unable to respond to the different market movements, different currency rates, different prices, things like that. So because of that, risk management has become an integral part of farming. Producers are trying to mitigate this risk through spreading crops across different seasons, weather conditions, soil types, etc. And farmers are being forced to sign long-term customer contracts to offset this risk, but these aren't exactly favorable terms. They're not getting great prices, and their margins are really, really low. Okay, so I'm just going to talk you through a little bit how the production process works. So when the seed is pressed, it becomes an oil. So up to about 40% of the canola seed is oil, and the rest is a cake. And this press is high in protein. So there's a lot of different things that can be done with that. It can be used as a livestock feed, which is currently being done, but that's relatively low value. So it's not optimizing the economic returns for farmers. It can also be used as to create protein isolate in food products more recently. And then the oil itself can be used in bioplastic production or to make edible oil itself. Okay. So the problem is the inefficiencies along the supply chain. The network between agricultural producers and these large companies lacks agility, sustainability, transparency, and supplier-buyer equality, like I mentioned with these long-term contracts. And we want to use blockchain as a solution to reduce this inefficiency through a decentralized auction platform, auction platform, to create a community and a place for canola supply and demand amongst producers and consumers and a variety of different users. So how would we enter this market? We would enter through 4 major companies: Nestle, PepsiCo, Danimer Scientific, and Birkin Neuroscience. So establishing a relationship with this would create a community for a number of reasons. Nestle and PepsiCo currently have a lot of different challenges and risks. One of them being currency risks. The cost of inputs is rising. There's a shifting customer taste and preference away from sweets and fatty foods and towards more healthy foods and proteins. So they're looking to diversify their portfolio more and expand operations into more developing countries and become more sustainable.
Sorry, Jenny, I'm going to have to cut you off there.
Okay.
But judges, you have 5 minutes now to ask questions. Hopefully they'll ask a question that covers something you didn't quite get to.
So Jenny,
Judges, if you have any questions. Go
The
ahead, sorry.
40%, you remember when you press this thing and the 40% cake is left over? So why nobody's paying attention as of today?
As of today, nobody is paying attention because it's being sold as animal feed. It's just very, very low value and the profit margins aren't very high. So what our blockchain solution is intending on doing is creating a marketplace whereby this protein cake can be sold on to bioplastic manufacturers who can use it to create bioplastics. So there's been a few mergers and acquisitions with companies like Nestle and PepsiCo with that company Danimer Scientific I previously mentioned. And then it can also be used for not only protein, but the canola oil itself can be used in the bioplastic production. So there's a lot more value that can be taken out of this canola oil that's currently being taken, I suppose.
A very quick follow-up. So if you can identify the problem, so can many others. So what do you bring on table, which people will actually come to you? What's so unique about it?
I think that using this blockchain technology and creating this community and this network of suppliers, when supply and demand fluctuates, farmers aren't forced to settle for a lower price because they want to secure finances. But this is still an emerging industry, like it's not yet well established. All of these companies are doing research and development into protein products and using canola oil as like a healthier alternative. So it gives both sides of the party flexibility and complete visibility and transparency along the supply chain.
Thank you.
Hi, Jenny, it's Piers. Thanks for that. And I suppose you could have done a similar presentation in respect of a number of other products, herbal and plant products, but that's the one you chose, and thank you very much. The four companies you mentioned, Nestle, Pepsi, and I can't remember the two others, are they the bulk of the market out there? Is that why you mentioned them?
I mentioned them because there is they're all trying to achieve very, very similar things. So there's an overlap between their interests. The Nestle and PepsiCo have merged and created partnerships with the two companies, not at the same time, but they're both looking into bioplastics and using canola oil as a healthier alternative. And this meal can be used as a protein isolate. So those companies are very much in line with what the conglomerates are trying to achieve. So there's definitely potential there for supply chain interaction and integration along the blockchain.
Your business model is to act as the middleman or the middlewoman, the stock exchange or whatever the
expression is,
and to take a penny in the pound.
Exactly.
Facilitate the big guys getting what they want. Okay. Yeah, thank you.
And I build on that with a quick question, which is, did you consider the rest of the sort of the circular economy element of what you're talking about here? So, what you've latched onto is something that is growing in a number of fields. I mean, there's milk byproducts which are being used for bioplastics. There's mushroom byproducts. The stalks are now almost more valuable than the caps because of the nutrients coming out of it.
Yeah.
One of the things that you could consider to really use the blockchain and everything else is that actually the biodegradable products are actually used in the packaging and in the production earlier on in the cycle somewhere, and that it sort of brings the value back into the chain. Did you consider that as part of it?
Yeah, you're virtually deriving all value from the whole seed, and there is minimal waste. So you're using the waste product for protein, which is a rapidly growing industry, and you're also using the canola oil itself for the healthy alternative or for the bioplastics. So you're
But
really,
what I'm kind of asking you is Did you think about putting the bioplastics as the packaging material way back earlier on in the cycle?
Yeah, for those food products that the companies could potentially create a protein product with canola oil and the protein from the cake and wrap it in a plastic from the bioplastic created by the oil as well.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Can I
just
ask a
very
question?
quickly, sorry. Can I just ask you to make a comment about the biofuel? Did I see that somewhere?
Yeah, you saw it there, yeah.
Can
We haven't done too much research into that, to be honest with you. I think that the bioplastics and the protein isolates was like, we thought that we were stretching ourselves enough with that. But as far as I know, there are more sustainable biofuels than those derived from canola oil.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Thanks.
Thank you.
I was just going to ask a question around the impact. So, what metric-wise, what impact is your implementation going to have on, say, Nestle, PepsiCo, or the industry in general?
So let me see if I can find it here. Yeah, so we hope to create along the chain, it will be completely visible, transparent. So not only will this kind of provide an auction platform where farmers, and it will eliminate transaction costs, so farmers and these processing companies can both get the best deal, but it will also, for the customer, provide transparency, complete visibility, proof of origin, proof of non-GMO biodegradable plastic. Like, you'll be able to see the whole chain, and we think that that's the unique selling point, I suppose.
I'm gonna cut you guys off there. Sorry, but great presentation, great work. Last but not least, we have team 13. If Jenny will bring your screen down, and Manish will put yours up. If you want to put yourself in present mode, then I won't read your notes. All right. Cool. All right, you guys are ready? You have 5 minutes on the clock. Ready, set, go. Hold on, we can't hear you.
I'm sorry, can you hear us now?
Now we can hear you. All right, now you have 5 minutes on the clock. Ready, go.
Hi all, this is Monish here. So before we embark on this journey, I would like to quote something from the Matrix. So to all the Neos in you, you have been given a choice, either to choose, and every choice has a consequence. So be sure you make a good choice. So to explore on this a bit, so are you sure what you are drinking is real? So when I say real, what the products claims to be. So we'll like to explore this statement a bit and from various aspects. So the first one, let's look at the drinking perspective. The beverage industry alone is a $1,300 billion market, and it is expected to grow at an annual rate of 8.7%. Having said that, this industry suffers a loss of 7% annually due to counterfeiting, which accounts to around $91 billion. And in India alone, that number accounts to 2.7%. This is as per the studies that we have gone through. This amount is pretty huge. And that brings us to the part of the problem that we have identified with the counterfeiting. That part is the opaqueness of the supply chain that makes it very difficult to check the veracity and the quality of the alcohol consumed. We have found out one of the ways or solutions to deal with this problem. Our solution is to increase the transparency and traceability of the product across the supply chain to increase the counterfeit detection. So what we help in doing is to reduce the surface area of attack for the counterfeits, identify potential source of the counterfeit, and easy access to make a legal case against the counterfeit. Our product is a peer-to-peer asset tracking and traceability system. It would be API first, which makes it easy integration point with an existing SAP or CRM application. It will also have an intuitive API, which makes it easy to use and provide excellent visualization for all the parties involved in the system. So when I say parties, there are many stakeholders involved as well. So our major stakeholders are basically the pretty much well-known ones: the manufacturers, the distributors, the restaurant owners, and the end user or the consumer of alcohol beverages. But in that, our target customers whom the system is designed for is basically the manufacturers and the consumers. So we are giving a way for the manufacturers to securely transfer the asset that they are selling to the consumer, and consumer is getting the best of what he expects from that particular brand. So what's the market size? The market size in India alone is 35 billion US dollars. And why India? Like, India is the country of origin. That's the first reason. And the second reason is the third largest market in the world in terms of alcohol consumption. And in India alone, as per the 2.7% 2.7% ratio, India accounts for a $1 billion loss of revenue. And the social aspect of it is the unaccounted deaths. The number is 200 to 300 lives. That was from the news clipping we got from last month. So what will be our go-to-market strategy? India has two major breweries involved, the United Breweries and United Spirits, which makes up to 90% of the Indian market. They have been facing a lot of problems with counterfeiting, and our major thing would be to get in touch with the CEOs and the CEOs and making them understand what's our problem and how are we going to solve the problem. So let's go to the revenue model. Our cost structure is we have 2,400 euros nodes. So like that's from the Azure node that we will be operating, and that's for a monthly cost. And we went around some rough figures. So if we charge for as per the pay-per-use model, it will be 0.05 cents per bottle, and the cheapest bottle costs around $80. So just to break even, 48,000 bottles would be required, which is the weekly production of United Breweries. So we are pretty much even on that. So here's our team. So we have a team with supply chain managers working in India. One is a food distributor. That's where we got our user inputs from. And myself, Monish, I work as a software developer, and there's one more software developer involved, which is Sanjeev. So let's go to the demo. So we have two demos for you. And before that, we would like to thank our tech stack, because of them, we are able to make something great happen.
Sorry, you're going to have to go really fast. I'm going to cut you off.
So here is the UI from the manufacturer's perspective. So it's a pretty much crude UI. So manufacturer will have the ability to enter the data from the input. Oh, sorry, this shouldn't have happened. Okay, so manufacturers can enter the data into our system through a normal UI portal, and he can add any product.csv file, and then there is a product list where he can view the products as well. Then the next part is the distributor. Distributor has pretty much the same thing. I would skip that just for the sake of time. Sorry for that. But let's say the same thing. It's a pretty much a mock-up. So know your bottle, you scan a QR code, you know more about the QR code, and you get to know the information. Here we are not tackling the source of the product, but the transparency of the product in the supply chain. We have one more demo for you.
No, wait, I'm sorry. Sorry. I have to cut you off. I know.
Sorry.
Rules
It's
are
just that
rules. Everybody
yeah.
hates them equally.
Oh,
All
sorry.
right. Hopefully, again, though, the judges ask those.
Yeah, shall I ask a question? Do you have another demo you could show us?
Oh, wow. Check that out.
So we had one more demo. Like we have one more guy with us. Like
Last question.
so he will show them. Thanks for that.
Hey guys, thank you. Yeah, so basically we started off looking at what blockchain we can use here, and we ended up with Corda. There are several reasons for that. One of them being it is permissioned blockchain, so that way we will be, everyone in the supply chain is going to be is a valid person, so no anonymity there. Yeah, so there are several reasons there. So we tried to implement, actually there were, we looked into 3-4 flows which we could have implemented, but we could only implement one of them now. So I will just show what we have done. So basically what I've done is I've spun up three nodes here, and I have logged into one of the node, that's party A, and so consider this guy as the manufacturer, and you go
And the product. That's it.
yeah, so let me just try to do that again. Demos always end up not working at the moment when you're trying to show them. Yeah, I might have to.
That's fine. Like.
Yeah, so but what I wanted to show you guys was that how data is stored for each of the individuals in that particular stream, and yeah, it is protecting the competitiveness of the company, yet it is increasing the traceability. That's what I wanted to show.
So sorry guys about the demo. Like I think like that's the part we messed up. We didn't start the notes properly well. So we are open to questions.
Yeah, could I ask a question? Because thank you, it's very impressive. But my question is this, and it goes to the business model. Why would United Beverage or the other company use your independent solution? Why would they not just build their own? Because it's entirely it's entirely within their supply chain.
Yes. So there are two aspects to it. The one is like our solution would highly targets the distributors involved as well. India might be a developing country, but the desertization that is happening in India is not at the pace that is happening in Europe. So to make them online, so India, we might say that we are going to Web 2.0, Web 3.0, but India is still in Web 2.0 phase. So that will increase our surface area of offering multiple solutions on top of it. So even when we say that there's an existing SAP CRM and SAP application CRM, but the distributors looking at from the inputs that we got from our distributor in our team, he says that this certainly is a good way to go, but there is no thing as people scanning QR codes back in India at a distributor level. So that means there's an opportunity for you guys to propose a solution for the distributors, and United Beverage won't go around saying that I would take that problem for the distributors as well. That's why they would look for someone of a partner like us who would take that trouble of bringing everyone onto the chain.
So you're effectively a cloud ERP with this sort of validation and authentication piece added on.
I would refrain from saying ERP because that means that we have taken up an additional responsibility. At the moment, we are only a decentralized or maybe decentralized ledger. That would be a better way to put it, where United Beverage can come up and plug in their products and make sure that they are being tracked. Like that's a really good offering to go ahead, but that will be like a changing the direction of what we are doing.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I'm cutting you guys off right there. Great work. Nice presentation, guys. Really good. Very nice and clear. I understood what was happening, and that's rare when it's tech related. So
thanks.
I'm gonna ask first off, congrats to all of the teams. Really wonderful presentations. Sophie and I are texting each other from 2 feet apart about how amazing and high quality all of the ideas and presentations and validation and research, everything was today. We're always amazed at what you guys can put together in 2 days. I'm gonna ask the judges to hop out of this call and go into your Judges Chamber voice channel on Discord over there. So hop on over there. Everybody else can stay here. You're more than welcome to put your videos on if you like, and we can see you. We're gonna have a couple people to talk at you and be inspirational and tell you wonderful things while the judges are deciding your fates.
Well done, everybody. Bye.
Oh, wait till they all leave. Cool. All right. Oh, yeah. Sophie's gonna go take the judges literally into the other room. And okay, first off, I want to introduce Nicholas Cantu. Nicholas, if you want to put your video on so we can see it. There you go, your floating head. Nicholas, if you'd like to introduce where you're from and the fabulous prize that you're giving to all of the people who are here today.
Okay, cool. Hello everyone. I will not take a lot of time. Just in the context of the supply chain, I'm happy with this hackathon of the transactional heart of industries, in fact. Also, I'm happy to see solutions to solve the unlikely situation of an increasingly synchronous real business, which is run on the asynchronous and not verifiable and not enough confidential digital exchange between the actors of the co-production. I think it's very important for all the industries. So I'm very happy to see this hackathon. We have worked on it, so I know all the work that you you have need to produce. I'm Nicholas Cantu. I'm the co-founder of Chain Accelerator. Chain Accelerator support the diffusion of the blockchain and cryptocurrencies in Europe via startups. We are based in StationF, the biggest startup campus in the world. We train developers, we advise large accounts, and we give some courses in universities and engineering schools. We are the co-organizer of the Paris Blockchain Summit, the first internet conference held in France dedicated to the professional in the blockchain and the crypto asset space. It's the first edition was in 2019, and the second edition will be on December 9 and 10 at StationF. The event is organized by the leading emerging technology companies and organizations, including Chain Accelerator, Wharton, Dataland, and is held under the joint of the high patronage of Bruno Le Maire, Minister of the Economy and Finance in France. Some of our headline support including Confury, La French Tech, Cognizant, Algorand, and a lot of other sponsors. The conference will take place over 2 days, packaged with the content for over 100 of the best speakers and companies in the industry. So we are very happy to include you in this 2 days of. I think it's a great moment for people who work in this area, and we are happy to offering Paris Blockchain Week Summit tickets to all these hackathon participants. To do this, just send us the email and your GitHub. That's the only point. Thank you.
So I'll also send the information. You'll be getting an email tonight or tomorrow morning depending on how quickly I get it done, with a little survey and some information, and the information there on how to get your tickets for Paris Blockchain. So thank you so much, Nicholas, for coming on and for providing such a great thing for all of our participants. I love it when we can give everybody who has put in the hard work a prize. And so we're waiting for Shane from Moy Coffee. We're too fast. I always judge more time than I need to ramble a bit, but because we have them here and because I've been so forgetting to talk about their amazingness, Lara and Christian are here from NetMinds. You may have remembered that when you signed up, you did or did not check a little box in your application that said you would like to send your information to NetMinds. They're one of our great partners. They help startups partner with other people. I'm going to let Lara explain it. She does it better than I do, of course. But Lara, some of you also had Lara as a mentor yesterday. So I'm going to let them explain a little bit about what they do and why you should totally have clicked that box if you didn't.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Caitlin, for that. I wasn't expecting to talk today, but here we are. That's amazing. So basically, I'm Laura, co-founder of NetMinds. The aim of NetMinds is how we get people collaborating to each other and how we get people to talk to each other and work. So what we do, it's basically just analyze needs and generate a profile of needs. So if you tick the box, what you're gonna get is that we're gonna start asking you about what is it that you need, so we can get you someone who can help you. So basically that's the aim of us, because we found that collaboration and kind of like supporting each other is very important, but sometimes you don't really know who is there to help you out, and you don't really know what they do or how they can help you, or you don't really know how you can help others. So what we do is we collect all the data and then we generate matches. So we generate help leads. That's how we call it. So it's basically, instead of having a sales lead, it's someone that can help you. It's a help lead. So basically if you tick the box, it means that you are getting into our system, and what it means is that we're going to start sending you people that can help you out with whatever you put. And I think that summarizes everything.
Perfect. Thanks you for you doing the talking and not having me do it. I've been talking all weekend. I think everyone here is sick of listening to me talk. So we're still, as I said, we have a few more minutes for Shane to come on. If anybody wants to throw out questions or introduce themselves to the group, this is sort of our relaxed, casual, I don't want to call it networking time because that's so just, but this is your time when, if you want to introduce yourself or tell everybody about what you do, then you can do it now. And once Shane gets here, we will have him come up and tell us. He's going to talk about Moy Coffee, which you guys have heard people have been mentioning all weekend. If you don't know who they are already, you will after the end of today. They're great coffee, good cause. I order my coffee from them in huge quantities. So if anybody wants to say hello, this is also the time if you need to go grab a drink or go to the bathroom or just not be in front of your computer for the next 5 minutes. You can also take that opportunity now too. I won't judge you. See, everybody's just so shy. Don't be shy, people. Well, Ed, because you're the only one who has their camera on, I'm going to say, hi, Ed, why don't you introduce yourself to everybody? Other person from the States. Where about are you in the States?
So I'm in Pennsylvania, on the East Coast, so Eastern time zone. I'm a DevOps architect in my day job, and so this is a nice break from that, kind of do the business side, the tech side, and kind of mix it all between. So, and I'm really, you guys, everyone did a fantastic job on the presentations. I've been through a couple hackathons, and really impressed with what everyone put together. So awesome job, everyone.
Yeah, as Sophie and I said, I wouldn't have said it if it weren't true. What you guys put together in the last 2 days, we're really impressed. So we're both done lots of hackathons. This is our 5th one that we've run, and our fourth virtual one. So every time the products that everybody's putting out get better and better, and we have to figure out what to do next to force you guys to keep stepping up your output. So.
Did you mention before you're from the Missouri or something like that? Okay.
Yeah,
Whereabouts?
from St. Louis originally. St. Louis.
Oh, St. Louis. Okay. Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah, and then kind of bounced all over. Went to school in Florida, and then was in San Francisco last in the States.
Okay. How long have you been in Ireland?
Almost 3 years.
Okay. Very cool.
So yeah, with a jag to the Middle East between California and Ireland. So all over. Had all the climates possible at this point.
Is this your favorite? Is Ireland your favorite?
Somewhere Ireland or San Francisco. They're kind of similar. And that it's just sort of rainy and foggy all the time. But in San Francisco, you could at least just like bike across the bridge and then it would be 1,000 degrees and sunny. So I liked the easy escape from the fog.
I think San Jose, I'd have to say, if talking about California, I think San Jose is downright perfect weather.
Yeah.
San Francisco, the fog in the morning's a killer for me, at least. I like to wake up and the sun's out. So
yeah, I always like the fog at night though. Very like true. You feel like you're in a Thin Man movie or something all the time. So Shane just messaged me. He's on his way. He's just uploading his slides very quickly. So he's on his way soon. But yeah, I love the fog in San Francisco. It's the best.
So who's the furthest? Who's on the other side of the world? Is anyone on the other side of the world here?
Who else is here? Is everybody here? Everybody that we have here now in Europe, or do we have anybody else?
Like I have two mates back in India. Like tell you a funny story. Like one is powering up his mobile from a power bank for the moment because there is no electricity back home. Like that's the dedication they are showing.
Nice. I love it. What about anybody? I know there was somebody originally who was in New Zealand. I don't know if they're still here. Yeah.
I'm in Belfast, but I'm in Colombia, so it kind of counts. It counts, but it doesn't count.
Yeah, Laura and I were on a panel, it was a couple of weeks ago, and we were joking. We were joking that if we couldn't get enough video screens, I could come up to Belfast and we could be on the same video screen, because we're the only ones who are in the same like island.
Yeah.
I thought it was so funny when you and Sophie showed your setup that you're right next to each other. I had no idea the whole time.
Yeah.
You just run with different cameras though.
Yeah. No, usually this is the first one since March that we've been able to be in the same place. So we're not like Ireland's not on super lockdown anymore. So we're actually allowed to be in the same room now, which is nice.
Very cool.
So yeah, when it's those moments when you guys are all being too efficient and too like reliable and not asking questions or having panics, then we don't have anything to do. We can sing Disney music together.
Yeah, doing this virtually was a little bit challenging, I have to say. It's easier, I think, in person. So trying to do it, and that probably accounts for, I think, a lot of the teams, falling out, because I think it's a lot harder when you're in place to kind of just say, I'm done here, but I think remotely it's like, I'll just shut this off,
Yeah,
so,
totally.
Definitely more challenging. So
yeah, and actually, once teams start, we have about the same drop-off rate as we do with live events.
Okay.
We had a few teams, and this one, because this was the first one, we let people come in as pre-made teams if they chose. That we had a couple of pre-made teams who just decided not to come.
Oh, okay.
Which makes my life easier, actually, because then you guys have longer to talk for your pitches, and
True.
It's fun. So yeah, it actually ends up being about the same in terms of like drop-off rate that we've had for live ones, which surprised us the first.
That
surprises us every time, actually.
Nice.
Caitlin,
that's also why I like when people I know. Yeah, go ahead,
have you got a schedule? like I came across this just purely by chance on LinkedIn. Is there a schedule of these events available, or do you just make it up as you go along?
We make up the schedule as people ask us to do events. So this one was sponsored by Microsoft. So Horace had approached us on behalf of Microsoft to put this event on. In the next, there's Shane. While I'm making Shane a co-host, I'll finish answering your question. But now we have, we don't have anything set up for September, but from October, November, December, we have a few coming up that are open to the public. So we also, that's the other thing, we have events that are internal for companies, and then we have ones like this one that are open to everyone. So I will be posting up the ones for October, November, December in the next week or so. So watch the LinkedIn page. If you're not on the mailing list, you will be in the next few days when I've uploaded all of your emails. And so yeah, so there are plenty coming up. They are planned ahead of time. And we also just don't want to put all of them out there at once and have people get overwhelmed and not sign up for anything, because that's what I would do if I got to our website and saw everything at once. I look at my own calendar and go, oh God. So anyway, enough about us. Let's talk about Moi Coffee. So here's Shane. Shane, shout hi so that your screen
hi,
pops
everyone.
up for everybody there. There you go. So this is Shane from Moi Coffee. Moi has been the poster child throughout this event. I think maybe 3/4 of the speakers have referenced y'all. So he's going to talk all about what you've heard about, and I'll let him take it away. If you want to share your slides, if they don't work, I have them as backups. Sure. So
yeah, thanks, folks. I'll start off by sharing my screen here. So presume you can see that okay?
Yep, it's just loading up. There you go. Perfect.
Great. Yeah, great to hear that some of the other mentors have mentioned us. Obviously, our coffee scheme is working, where we steadily bribe them as the days go on. Yeah, no, that's great news to hear. Yeah, I'm conscious you're at the end of a long weekend and it's Sunday evening, so I'll keep the deep dive into coffee economics to a minimum. And as you might hear during the Q&A, I'm definitely not a blockchain developer or an engineer. I'll answer as many questions as I can, but you'll quickly discover the limits to what I can answer. But very happy to kind of today just give you an idea into Moi's mission, our fair chain approach, and just what we're trying to achieve using blockchain. So yeah, Moi Coffee, you'll see us on moicoffee.ie in Ireland. We have partners in Amsterdam, Berlin, and Addis Ababa. Some of them on moicoffee.com. We're all about radically good coffee with radical impact. So I suppose the first thing we always try and mention in any discussions here with Moi and our imagery and our storytelling, it's all about people first and foremost, and supply chains are about people, and that's often forgotten in the big macro picture. You know, Ethiopia is the birthplace of coffee. It's been grown there for thousands of years. It was smuggled around the world at some stage to grow it in other countries. But it's also an indicator of everything that's wrong with the coffee supply chain and the coffee industry as a whole. And we'll get more into that later on. But yeah, there's a coffee ceremony in Ethiopia where the coffee is roasted on a pan in a traditional fire, and then it's ground with a wooden pestle and mortar called a moi, and that's where our name comes from, which is, I suppose, very important for us to have an African identity, as a lot of it's about creating a partnership with these people here who are contributing most to the coffee chain, we think. So I'll chat a little bit today about our fair chain roasting at origin, what we're doing with coffee farmers, and blockchain. So those three things. So yeah, Moi is all about radically good coffee with radical impact. We're the first fair chain coffee company in the world. And we're trying to create a 50-50 partnership. You're probably not shocked to hear that 98% of the value of a cup of coffee leaves coffee producing countries and goes to the West. So only about 2% of the profit goes back to a country like Ethiopia. We certainly don't think that's a fair share of value for your average cup of coffee. So we're working to change that. So we're first, I suppose the first thing about coffee as well is if you can see this clearly here, coffee can only grow in the coffee belt, an area near the equator, in between the two tropics. There's about 100 million coffee farmers who earn about €2 a day. And yet 90% of those countries are kept afloat, not by this amazing product that is worth, I think, about 100 billion, but by development aid. So coffee's leaving as a commodity. A lot of the value, the jobs, the expertise is leaving with it, and it's being roasted in the West for the majority of the value and profits to leave with it. So our first intervention really, which is not a surprise, was in roasting and coffee roasting. So these are some of our team actually in Addis Ababa. There's 50 people employed there who aren't usually anywhere near that coffee belt. So our coffee is bean to bag in Ethiopia. It leaves as a finished product. We often call it the Kerrygold butter of coffee. So it's really about, first and foremost, that added value piece. A roasted coffee bean is worth about 7 times the value of a green bean. So we want more of that value and those jobs to be in coffee growing countries. And that's our first real intervention. And the reasons for that are quite clear. This is as deep as it gets in terms of coffee economics, but Ethiopia earns about 3 billion a year in development aid. This is despite it being Africa's biggest coffee exporter. It earns about 800 million from coffee. But if Ethiopia roasted all of its coffee at origin, it would earn about 2.3 billion a year. Basically, vastly reducing the need for development aid, particularly in coffee growing communities. So Fair Chain, really, this overall mission that we work to is about shared value chains. So it's about that value add at source. It's about competing on quality, not poverty. This would all be well and good if I was, I suppose, to tell you this whole story, but the coffee didn't taste any good, it would be a completely worthless exercise. So our coffee's great in the top 5% of beans worldwide. And really it has to be about all things being equal. We think with social businesses, you have to deliver a service and a product that's as good as anything out there for people to listen to your story in the first place. And then it's also about inclusive business models. So maybe somewhere there's a hack going on with they have George Clooney. Unfortunately, you've got me, but we don't choose to add famous faces and that marketing piece to what we're doing. We're trying to buy high quality coffee, add more value at origin, and sell it for a decent and fair price for everyone. I suppose the second piece that we're trying to work on as a company, and it's I suppose a little different to that first sector and roasting we're talking about. It's to do with farmers and coffee farming. So this is definitely the poorest part of the coffee chain. It is the part that has the highest needs, and it's the part that probably earns the least from your cup of coffee. So since 1978, the price of Arabica coffee has actually slightly decreased or been largely the same. So despite all the interventions and great initiatives like fair trade, really it's coffee farmers are still competing on poverty rather than this amazing product that they're producing. So we work directly in actually 2 regions of Ethiopia now with 450 coffee farmers. Coffee is the largest unautomated industry in the world. It's in Ethiopia, it's generally a forest or a semi-forest product. As you can see in the top left here, it's growing, it grows as a cherry on a tree, on a vine. It's picked by hand. When the cherries are ripe and ready to be picked, they're bright red. And they're sorted by hand to remove anything unripe. They're dried for about a week, and then they're either washed and sent on for further processing before roasting. an average coffee farmer in Ethiopia, where we work, earns about 480 euro a year. And that's only in the 3 months of the coffee harvest in November, December, and January. And really, we kind of pat ourselves on the back like a lot of other coffee companies, and we pay a 20% premium to our farmers and say, aren't we great? But really the metric, as you'll see, we've moved on to is living income. Because a living income we've calculated is closer to €1,000 a year. So if we're on a journey and we're trying to use tech like blockchain to see, well, how do we bring consumers along, and how do we bring everyone in the chain along so that those farmers can earn a living income, not just a premium that's slightly above the poverty commodity price that they pay. So journey to a living income, we think, has to be the metric in so much of the food chain, not just premiums as the basis. So that brings us on to blockchain. If you're wondering about any of these images, this was a photographer. We actually sent a Dutch photographer that our partners knew, who went to the coffee chain to take a lot of these funky images. It's a Dutch sense of humor. I still don't get it after about 4 years of working with them. But yeah, our intervention in terms of blockchain, I suppose whenever we talk to someone in the industry, they always say, oh, it's about provenance and it's the transparency piece. And that's certainly the first bit of what we're trying to do. So we're about to launch a retail product that has a QR code, a token on the bag. It's always a QR code these days, it seems. But that token is actually worth real money. It is worth 25 cents. A customer scans it, and the first thing we are looking to show is a mobile site which shows you the farmers in our chain, what they're earning, what our impact goals are for living income. So certainly that piece of transparency and provenance, we want to show you it's from where we say it's from. We want to show you it's as good as we say it is, and we want to show you what the conditions of the people in that supply chain. So that's the first piece we are trying to do. But the more ambitious thing we're working on is redistribution by design. So it's using that token to amplify your impact. So rather than us giving €1 million to an influencer like the Kardashians and have them talk about us, we want to give our marketing money to customers in the form of those tokens. And they can use it as a kind of a loyalty scheme to get a discount maybe on their next bag, or to send it to a project in Ethiopia. Our tester has been with coffee trees. You can use that token to plant a tree with each bag that you drink, and that's a money-making tree. Each tree earns about €10 extra per year for a coffee farmer and saves about 25 kilos of carbon. So we think there's a role there, not just to use blockchain tokens and tokenization to show provenance and transparency, but to actually create change and affect change in a supply chain. So there are the three aspects we're trying to create in there. There's the impact, ecosystems, and consumer behavior. So it's quantifiable and verifiable proof of impact, which is hugely important for us. We mentioned the sustainable development goals there. We think more and more businesses are going to be basing their company on those SDGs. And we want to show our customers, yes, we are delivering on those promises. The second one is that provenance, radical distribution, and also creating bankable supply chains. So a lot of these coffee farmers previously never had bank accounts, never had proof of ownership of land. A couple of years of blockchain data, we're hoping will allow them to be able to get a loan, or the co-op to get a loan, because they've got proof of a successful business model. And then finally, it's that piece of consumer behavior and money. And yeah, having some loyalty programs, doing interesting things with tokens to create change. So that's kind of us as Moyi in a nutshell. I'm interested to hear what some of the other speakers have been saying about us, and hopefully all positive. I'd definitely be open to having a chat and taking some questions, hearing what some of your other projects have been, and if there's been some crossover. So yeah, please guys, have a chat and let me know what you think.
Yeah, definitely. If anybody wants to ask questions, or you can either ask them on your mic or in the chat, whatever you feel like. This is your time to relax and talk and ask questions.
I'm hoping my main role, I imagine here, was to kill time while the judges were making the decision. So hopefully they're closer to that in the 15 minutes there.
Yeah, Sophie and I are chatting back and forth. She says, do I need to speed him up? No, not yet.
Yeah, tell me when to shut up. That's fine. That's
Shane, this is Grania. I'd love to ask you about the how visible is the blockchain as a technology within your business, within your business case? Because I'm hearing that an awful lot of, so I work in the pharmaceutical supply chain. There is an awful lot of blockchain fatigue, but yet there are such a lot of benefits. So how visible is blockchain per se? Do you seek to, is it under the hood, so to speak? Just wondering. Thanks.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I suppose a lot of our business model in Ireland and across Europe was supplying coffee to tech companies, and as you can imagine, a lot of that has stopped or changed a little bit. We've been developing the kind of direct to consumer stuff in the background, but I've really brought that forward. So when we were talking to tech companies, you could bring blockchain a little bit to the fore. But really, from a customer point of view, we're not going to talk about it. We're not going to use the word for most of what we do, because while it might be the technology underpinning it, what we're really trying to talk about is the impact goals and get them to act. So yeah, we might actually soften it down a little bit, but that's something we're going to have to test.
Can you do what you do without blockchain?
Potentially. I mean, it is something people often ask. Do you really need to have, blockchain technology for a lot of what we're doing? Is it not just a track and trace? I think we do, in terms of the redistribution piece I talked about, and using live tokens to contribute to an impact goal, whether that's solar panels, tree planting, something else. So I think it is necessary in that context.
Hi Shane, Kevin's my name. We presented an idea similar to what you're doing at the moment, except that we're trying to reach out to the farmer directly, rather than and then distributing a price premium that's paid by the consumer back through the blockchain, through the use of smart contracts, directly to the farmer, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Is there any particular reason why you're distributing the aid in the form of, let's say, goods to the farmer, rather than distributing money directly to the farmer, let's say?
There's a couple of reasons. I suppose we work with a loose co-op of farmers, of about 450 of them, and we were aware from other years of we thought about doing a tip the farmer project, where the impact mightn't be planting a tree or overall infrastructure development, might be you sending that premium or money directly. We were conscious of not having several farmers who would become then super well off in the chain, while the rest of the co-op and the farmers who are producing to a certain level, there might be a bit of an inequality there. That was one thing. We've also had to try and bring along the community as a whole from a cultural point of view. So for example, we wanted to roll out digital payments a lot quicker through mobile phones and smartphones. There's issues to do with charging points for phones. There's issues to do with internet connectivity. There's cultural issues where the men own the mobile phones typically in a household, but under Ethiopian custom, the women own the coffee trees closest to the home. So the women absolutely didn't want the men to have their money onto the phone. So there was some cultural pieces that we didn't, there was a few considerations like that why we didn't go down the road fully of premiums directly to farmers from the offset. Okay.
So, second question, are you disintermediating the, let's say, current incumbents in the supply chain? Or are you building a new supply chain yourselves, or what are you actually doing?
So if I've understood your question right, we would already have a supply chain. So we're unique in coffee in that we have the first mile to last mile piece. So we are buying directly already coffee from those farmers and taking out middlemen. So where if that's what you were asking, or were you wondering where we?
Yeah, that's so effective. You mentioned earlier in the presentation that the multiple between the green bean and the roasted bean is 7.
Yeah.
But by virtue of you owning components of the supply chain, you're in a position to redistribute that margin rather than being reliant on the current incumbents, where I'm sure you've come up with a lot of resistance.
Yeah, definitely. So that's already our impact mission, to have 50% of the value go back. So, but where the piece that is still missing is how do we get that fully to living income for farmers? Because the tokens are in a way of getting consumers to learn about the problems, but it won't solve it in itself. Even with you giving a token to plant a tree or contribute to infrastructural development, it won't be enough. There's a much bigger piece where we're trying to even plug in NGOs and their support network into that to show the work that they're doing. For example, in farmer training, to be able to get better yields, to use organic practices, to have that whole piece of a model farm where you can show the best techniques available to get better coffee yields, to stop deforestation. So there's a bigger piece outside of it that will lead to a living income, not just the tokens as of itself.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
I think there is one question regarding, let's say, the farmers might be doing their regular task in a certain way. So how did you went around and change their, let's say, workflow when you introduce your technology? So how was that, let's say, user adoption being done for, let's say, this kind of a space? Because I think the application in this space is most related to unregulated and industry kind of thing. So like,
yeah, it's you always have a bit of opposition. Again, it's the kind of cultural considerations I mentioned. I mean, in these communities, cash is king. There's a big education piece around, you know, this money on your phone and digital payments. What is the ultimate value of that? But I think we kind of built up some legitimacy over a couple of years by paying our premium payments, which I've mentioned aren't enough, but by paying consistently 20% premiums, improving infrastructure, bringing the bank managers from the town to this very remote village at very high altitude to have them open bank accounts and show the benefits of that. I think that's built up a bit of, I think that's built up some credibility. So there's a bit of trust there in terms of using phones and digital wallets and what that will lead to. And I suppose that's a role typically that NGOs are very good at. I mean, the criticism sometimes of NGOs is they're very good at the development and infrastructure and improving livelihoods piece, but then actually selling a product or getting a product to market, that's not where their expertise is. So we've partnered with the likes of Self-Help Africa, a couple of Dutch NGOs, to deliver on livelihood projects here that help our overall mission, but we're the ones that then obviously bring the product to market at the end here in Europe.
Thanks, Shane.
Hi, Shane. I have a question as well, if I could jump in.
Sure.
Hi, my name is Aluchi. Thank you so much for the presentation. Nice to meet you. I was also on Kevin's team, and he mentioned the project we were looking at. And I also work for an NGO, and it's so true what you say about NGOs being particularly competent on one side of the coin, but not having the skills or the competencies in selling, which I found very much applied to me during this hackathon, my first hackathon. But yeah, and also really, it's amazing to hear how true Moi's Coffee has stayed to the understanding the contextual issues and the cultural need for understanding, and also, I mean, making sure that you're doing no harm to the communities that you're ultimately hoping to serve. So I was wondering, what kind of how did you begin to engage with the communities, if without having an NGO partner, without having any initial local understanding? And I suppose, have you developed greater links like with local governments and with even with national government? Like what's the opinion of what you're doing in Ethiopia, in all those, with all those other partners?
I mean, it would be quite positive. So it's a very remote area and community. For one thing, it's 7 hours west of Addis Ababa if you drove, 45-minute flight, and then you're on very much non-tarmac roads, about twice the height of Carrantoul. You're dealing with communities where access to drinking water, education are a lot of the core issues. At least it's very lush and green, a lot of food can be grown. But we were very clear at the beginning to have good local partners as well. So people who are involved in the coffee industry who can run a train-the-trainer program and show immediate benefits. Dealing with Ethiopia is very, very challenging. The Ethiopian government turned off the internet for 6 weeks this year. So, you know, there's a perspective. We couldn't communicate with the roastery or with the farmers in the mountains. A protest singer was killed in Oromia where we work, and that shut down more access. So it is still very, very challenging. But as I mentioned in the presentation, it's an example for a lot that's wrong with the coffee industry. I suppose it comes up a lot even in the context of climate change. A really big effect or a really big cause of climate change in some coffee regions is actually poverty. The role of poverty in climate change isn't talked about, that if the coffee farms aren't earning livelihoods and people in those communities can't earn enough, they're going to cut down the trees for firewood or to sell on another means. So I've probably gone off point a little bit, but yeah, it's still gradual. You still have to work with farmers co-ops and work with local people as much as possible. But I think over time, as you work with more and more farmers, they see the benefit of what you're trying to do.
Great, thanks.
Do you have a question? I have a question from like the social sciences side of it. A lot of the technology things that we've seen and that people have presented to Sophie and I with, we're going to help somebody in another country. How much or how necessary was it to really be on the ground for an extended period of time to learn, like you were talking about how the men tend to own the phones and the women own the trees, to find how to adapt to these like cultural norms and to find ways that, you know, you could provide what you wanted to provide and still being like respectful to those sort of cultural standards that were in existence?
Yeah, I think it's definitely important to actually to go there and to spend time there, particularly at different times during the year even. So I've only ever been during the coffee harvest in November, December, January. It's warm during the day, at least. It's sunny. People are arriving at this coffee washing station is the heart of the processing and the community for during the coffee harvest. People bringing coffee cherries, arriving on donkeys, arriving on big trucks where they pop down with their sacks and just bright red coffee cherries, a hive of activity. But my colleague Killian last August was there during the rainy season, and it is a completely different existence. Very, very difficult living conditions. As you can imagine, very rainy, but very, very hard to eke out a living, to survive, and even challenging in the capital, in the main cities. So I think being there for the different times of year, access is a massive issue, being even these communities being cut off by roads and transport. So yeah, it becomes a very abstract and big picture exercise of supply chains and using tech to tell that story, but it's not until you're there that you get a sense of it. You know, little things, you know, you're brought by Jeep to up to the coffee farms, and there's, you know, the white kind of 4x4, and on the dashboard there's a sticker of an AK-47 with a red circle and a red line through it. And I said, oh great, it's, you know, they know we don't have guns, so that we're not a threat. And the line was, no, they know we don't have guns, so they don't have to kill us to rob us. So, you know, you get there's armed guards at the washing station because it's a place where there's money and economic activity. So there's considerations you can only get by being there, talking to people, having a good team that's there the whole time.
Cool. I'm listening into Sophie behind me in the other room, and I think they've finally come to a decision. Does anybody else want to ask any last questions of Shane about Oi while we are waiting for the last decision from the judges? And they should be popping back in the next few minutes too. I heard awesome thank you, so. We have a decision. All right, cool. So the judges are back on their way, yes?
They're back on their way.
Cool. So anybody last questions for Shane before we tell what you all are waiting for to hear? Who won? No? Okay. All right, well, thank you.
That was really interesting. Thank you.
Yeah, stop the suspense. Let them hear. Very interested to hear some of the projects. Kevin, yours sounds really interesting, and you guys you mentioned sounds great. Yeah, you saw my email there, shane@moicoffee.ie. I would love to chat to you some more and hear about these great projects.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on and inspiring everybody and showing everyone what you can create and what is creating and what's working. And you are inspirational. Look what you can become. Company, as demonstrated by the fact that, like I said, half the speakers referenced y'all. So
the power of coffee.
Right.
We keep the world going. That's it.
Definitely keep hackathons going for sure.
That's for sure.
So there is a decision. Okay. Cool. Getting all the details.
Make sure that.
Kathleen, do you need a drum roll?
Not quite yet. Hold on a second. I'm gonna mute you guys first. Okay, so here we go. Oh, before I say the winner, I realized I skipped a judge when I was telling you how the judges were. My Santa Maria is here from the Department of Finance, or Ministry of Finance. I want to call it department because that's what it is. So thank you, I'm sorry I skipped you earlier. She was also here mentoring yesterday. So another familiar face that you've seen around while we've been here. All right, so now you can drum roll. So in third place, getting tickets to the Web Summit, we have team number 13. Woo!
Hey!
Team 13.
Thanks, guys.
Oh, wait. Oh, hold on. I'm gonna take my things out so that Sophie can hear us too. Okay.
Nice.
You guys can also hear me? Cool. All right. So in second place with with desk space at the Dublin BIC, we have team number 11. Yay! Woo! Team 11. All right, and our overall #1 winner, they get the Settlement, Sprout X, and Origin Chain prizes. We have team number 9. Woo! Yeah! Nice work, everybody.
Oh God, that was really hard. That was hard.
You always know it's a good sign when it takes the judges a long time to make a decision. It means you guys all, as I've said like over and over and over, did awesome jobs. So that's the exciting bit. A little bit of business. You're gonna all get the same email tonight that says how amazing you are. and to please do the survey. It's only 2 questions. That email also has the information on how to get your tickets to Paris Blockchain Week Summit. So I made there be an incentive to open it because I'm a marketer at heart and I do incentives. We also want to say thank you to all of our judges, our mentors, our speakers, everyone, and you guys, everyone who comes together to make these events happen. Big thank you to all of our sponsors, and a massive thank you to everyone here from the team at Microsoft, Horace, Cedric, Ishan, and Kelvin, who are all here, who were our lead sponsor on this event and really helped bring everything together. That's everything. We're all
Let's click a selfie. Let's click a selfie.
For sure. Oh yeah, hold on. Let me spread you all out so that
we consider you a coffee lover because I've rarely seen a level of energy coming from the same human being in such a short period of time.
Let's see if I can get everybody on the screen. Is it possible? Yeah, I can. Can I make everybody fit? I think so. Not quite. We'll take 2. So, if you want to be in the picture, put your screen or put your camera on. Yay. So we got a few people from everywhere. There we go. There we go. We're going to do 2 pictures because I can't fit everybody on the screen and I'll stick them all together. All right. So selfie number 1. Oh, I get to see everybody now. All these people I've been emailing with for the past 2 weeks. All right. Everybody don't really big. And we're going to take a picture and we'll post it everywhere. Smile. Yay, number 1. Yay. Okay. Don't stop smiling because I got to get everybody in the picture. Okay. Smile number 2. Yay. Fabulous.
Awesome.
Great, everybody. You guys were fabulous. This is also where, well, we didn't bring anything to drink, but if you would like to virtually raise a toast to yourselves and all of your fellow participants because you did an awesome job this whole week. There we go. It's just like, I got it. We're good. Virtual toast to all of our wonderful participants. You guys did an awesome job throughout the whole weekend. We were really so impressed with everything that you did in such a short amount of time. This is also now our hangout. You can stay here and chill with us. If you're absolutely exhausted of looking at a computer screen, we won't be offended. But this is our attempt at a social moment while we're virtual. If anybody wants to, you can put your microphone on, you can chat. We'll hang out here for a little while. The judges also, if you want to talk to anybody, participants or judges, if there's anyone you want to point out and talk to, you can shout them out or message them, up to you.
Awesome. Yeah, everything is less social when you don't have a beer or something.
We'll find a way to send you all some sort of responsibly sourced, blockchain validated alcohol next time we have a virtual event. Or non-alcohol, Monish, I know, since you don't drink.
Yeah, alcohol brings people together, and coffee.
And coffee, alcohol and coffee.
Yeah, wine and coffee, that's a French religion.
Thank you, Caitlin. Thank you for the mentors.
Yes, thank you. So, and congrats also.
Thank you so much, Fiona. Thank you so much. I would like to connect with you all over in LinkedIn, so I'll drop my LinkedIn.
Of course. All of you, please. I'd love to stay connected.
Do that.
Yeah, it's such a great weekend. It's so interesting. Can I just take the opportunity to say thank you to Caitlin and Sophie, because I think they did a really wonderful job. Kept it super simple and talk about troubleshooting.
This is for Caitlin and Sophie. Come on, everybody, let's do a dance for them. Ready, on set, everybody, let's do it. Ready, 1, 2, 3, go.
That's what I should have gotten a picture of.
Oh, yeah,
it's recording it. I do have a picture of it.
All right, ready? Sorry, 1, 2, 3, let's go. Hold it.
There we go. I got it.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, you guys.
Awesome. Listen, I'm going to go and have a bite to eat, but it was an absolute pleasure to.
Thank you. It's
Thank you so
wonderful.
much, Fiona, for everything you did, from the promotion to being it. Legend.
Let's keep in touch. Bye.
Bye-bye. Yeah, and everyone, the Discord server won't die. It'll probably maybe peter up, but you're welcome to stay on there. You can also drop your LinkedIn link if you want to in the general chat. That's it.
Yeah.
That's everything. We'll hang out here more too.
Thank you, Caitlin. Thank you, Sophie. It's always amazing to be with you. I gotta go now.
Thanks. We'll see you soon.
Some of you around.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye-bye. I'll send them along to you soon. The ones who checked the box.
All right, perfect. Yeah, and then if you haven't checked the box and you still want to carry on with your projects, you can let Caitlin and Sophie know. We're more than happy to keep kind of like introducing you to people and stuff that can help you out with all of those projects. So, yeah.
The link is in the email too. Everything's in this email that's coming
out.
All
right. Perfect. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks, Ed.
Guys, I'm the same. I'm gonna head for some food now.
Yeah,
but thank you so much, Sophie and Caitlin, for everything. And this has been a great weekend. My first hackathon.
Oh, yeah, first hackathon. And
yeah.
On the podium.
Thank you very much, guys. Anyway, enjoy the
Bye.
rest
Nice
of
to meet you.
evening.
Bye-bye.
You too. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Caitlin. Bye-bye. I get to
Thanks,
leave.
Nicole. Bye. Nice to meet you. Bye, Kevin. Hi, Musaf.
Hey, how was it? Did you guys enjoy it?
How are you feeling?
I'm a little bit better, thank you.
Oh, good.
How did you guys enjoy the hackathon?
Yeah, it went really well. I'm going to stop.